what's going on that we're not getting our normal beginning intro. I have to get the intro back in. Now we get like all this groove type of music. Ready? Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Real Estate Plate. As always, I'm your host, Nick Sakalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios here in lovely Merrick, New York. It's pretty lovely today, especially compared to yesterday. Anybody get caught up in those torrential rains?
Oh, yeah. I drove down from upstate. It was needed a boat.
Yeah. How about being in a house that was full-blown open house and then getting stuck in those torrential rains and then having a blackout right in the middle of that?
That's a horror.
That was the first.
There you go. That's where we're kicking in. It's our annual horror, real estate horror show. And just like every year, we are going to get into some of these freaky, scary horror stories that we basically are going to, that people have sent us, things that we found in articles, and that kind of thing. So we got a couple of technical difficulties, but you guys can hear me?
Yeah, not forget.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
All right.
I can hear you there.
As long as the audience can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you.
I don't care if you guys can hear me, but as long as the audience can hear me, that's all that matters.
All right.
There you go. You got to put the microphone close to the face. So as you can tell, we got a couple of guests today. I'm not just talking to myself for the listeners out there on the radio. Today we have our guest, Mike Natter from Movement Mortgage.
Yeah.
And
Great to be here.
Great to have you here. And we do have a returning guest, Mark Handler. By popular demand, I guess, right?
By popular demand. Boo.
Boo, that's it.
Boo.
So we're going to just dive into a lot of stuff that we've been kind of sifting through this past week. And, of course, I leave without my book. I left it over in my car, but I'm going to go off of my memory of everything that I was reading. And, by the way, I'm still on that mission to sell a haunted house. So I haven't accomplished that. I've been asking for that opportunity the past 2 years. This is year 3. I want that house. I want the one. I don't care if it's from The Exorcist. I don't care if it's from the Amityville Horror. I'm dying for that opportunity. I think I'm the only person crazy enough to want to take on an opportunity like that. Either I'm crazy enough or I know the good publicity stunt when I see one. So that being said, you guys ever go into a haunted house?
Well, I was saying before, we were just talking before the show. I feel that every house has a soul. When I sell a house and talk to the buyers, they have to feel it. And there's always a feeling when buyers come into a house, whether it's a warm feeling, it's a cold house, whatever it is, they always have souls, and being that they have souls, if they have past, residents in there, then maybe their souls are there.
So it's more like one of those things like if these walls could talk kind of a thing?
Maybe.
Well,
Maybe.
What about you, Mike?
Not that wasn't an attraction somewhere.
No. I've been into a lot of places where they were supposed haunted. There was like a really popular one that was down in Astoria when I was growing up. It was an old abandoned, boarded up house. Nobody wanted to go near it. It was on the market forever. Everybody in the neighborhood knew it was vacant. Nobody was there. People would walk by there like all different times in the night, hear howling, different noises, that kind of stuff. They finally discovered that there was actually a squatter, an old lady that was living in the house with a huge dog, one of those big, greyhounds, Marmaduke. What was Marmaduke? You remember Marmaduke, that dog?
I know that. I don't know what kind of dog it is.
It seems like not a Great Dane.
It's either a Great Dane or one of those. It's
like
a big
Saint
horse
Bernard.
dog. Yeah, no, not Saint Bernard. Those are a little different. The ones that look like a big
Great Dane.
horse or something. Yeah, one of those. So those things bark loud.
Yep.
And they finally discovered that case, got her out, and finally sold it under normal condition. There you go. Problem solved. I had another person down in Long Island City. This guy was nuts. He had a house right by borders Long Island City and Astoria, and it's funny that everything's happening in that area that I'm talking about. But and this guy would actually, it was right not that far away, probably a couple minutes away from Astoria Park, and he had hanging Cabbage Patch Kids all over his yard, a couple of other type of animals and stuff like that hanging from there. Looked like something straight from Nightmare on Elm Street, that kind of a thing. And the guy was just disturbed. It wasn't haunted,
Right.
but really disturbed. So, you get a lot of that stuff. So, I've come to. I'm one of these people that I have to see it to believe it. So that's why I want to go for that opportunity. I want to sell that house that's haunted. I want to sell something that everybody's saying is untouchable. The devil has possessed it, or whatever they say it is. Yeah, and if I'm wrong, then I won't be around to talk about it after. But
I think you have to be receptive to the spirit. If I did have somebody that worked with me that worked with the owners. If somebody passed away or something, to help them pack the house up, and that person was more receptive to spirits. That I would say, did you feel this person in there? And somebody, yes. And I was like, all right, maybe I just don't have that.
I'll tell you something. If that spirit is affecting my bottom line, and I can't get that seller the money that I need to get, I'm not going to be very receptive to that.
Right.
Maybe they're looking for the right buyer.
I'll tell you that spirit or that ghost or whatever you want to call it, it's going to have its hands full if it's costing commission dollars or sales dollars for the seller. I'll tell you that much.
I guess it has to do with the difference between a mean spirit and a good spirit. So it's a good spirit, it would only help you sell the house.
There you go.
If it's somebody that's has an axe to grind, hey, axe to grind, that's a horror.
Yeah.
But if they have a problem, then you might have a problem selling the house.
2 weeks ago I was down in Savannah, Georgia, and that's a huge haunted city. They have all the hearse driving around with tours and buses with tours, and me and my wife were in the hotel room, and it probably was 8:30 in the morning. We were getting ready to check out, and all of a sudden the ceiling fan started to go on and off. The lights started flickering. That was the fastest checkout we ever did.
I could imagine. You got to have some real horror stories as far as some of the clients that come to you, right?
I love all my clients, but there's definitely a handful that are a little more nightmarish than others.
Yeah, I could imagine. First of all, it's got to be a horror every time that somebody says, "I got a great credit score. I got everything you need," and then all of a sudden you find out they got nothing. That's
exactly.
And you already did all the work, and they're not supplying all the information.
It's true. Yeah, there's nightmares out there, and you got to really handhold a lot of folks, and definitely some haunted customers.
I'll tell you something. It's a nightmare every time we call you up and you tell us this person's not qualified. We just spent all this.
Well, you don't want to waste your gas.
Well, you know what? It's just the nature of the business. I'm saying, and we were just talking about the interest rates a little while ago. We were kind of in limbo, not knowing what's going to happen. And
well, it's a big week for interest rates because the Fed's meeting Thursday. That does not directly impact mortgage rates. Actually, the last 2 times the Fed lowers rates, mortgage rates went up a little bit for a few days, and it takes some time for the market to catch up. But there's some good numbers coming out this week, and we'll see what happens. We're hoping they stay low.
So we're not expecting any scary stories next week, right? Usually they adjust going into it. It's all off the Treasury, right?
Yes.
Off the 10-year Treasury. So
well, that's a close indicator. It's actual mortgage bonds that trade. It gets a little technical, but it kind of relates to the 10-year, but it's not always following that.
So basically, from my understanding is, usually when they're having these meetings, they've already adjusted going into
the market adjusted. But what really happens is when the Fed lowers the rate, that's really the money that the banks borrow from the government. it really has nothing to do with mortgages. So it may take some time for the banks to adjust down if they're going to all lower their rates. And they all call around to each other and see who's lowering it and try and compete. So it's a little bit of a game, but it's not directly going to be tied to if the Fed lowers rates. And that's a big nightmare, because the minute I have people looking to close and the Fed says they lowered it, my phone is off the hook, blowing up. Did my rate go down? Did my rate go down? And it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's on pins and needles.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. I mean, stay tuned. We'll see what happens this week.
Absolutely.
But I got a feeling everything is kind of plateaued right now as far as the rates, and we got a horror story coming up in about a year or so from now with the election. So we'll see what happens with that. How that affects our rates and affects our sales too. It's always something that we don't know what's going to happen, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I was reading about, and I noticed that when you have this time of the year, Halloween, people have a tendency, especially the kids, of getting really funny with realtors and really messing around with their houses. And I was reading a story, actually. This was sent to me from somebody in South Carolina. And what they basically told me is, for the past 3 years in a row, every single Halloween, their house getting TP'd and it's getting eggs thrown at it.
The agents.
For some reason, the kids isolated this one specific realtor, poor guy, and every year he's got a shaving cream beard on his sign, TP all over the porch, and he's usually got eggs all over the place as well. And he's one of those guys that likes to have a big sign on the side of his car that shows his face. So that's what actually bring a target.
So what do you think he's asking for?
You know
What's the moral of that?
The moral is
you don't want to be haunted by kids.
Kids are scarier than
don't
ghosts.
Put your face on the car.
I think kids are scarier than the ghosts sometimes, because I told him, you think you should kind of like, at least for Halloween, take down that like thing that you have on the side of the car. He's like, no, but how would people know me? I'm like, well,
the eggs on your face.
There you go. So it's a kind of crazy thing. Mark, I know you were reading up something on Realtor.com a little earlier.
So there was a poll, a Halloween-based poll. So I'm going to throw out some, statistics from it and see what the reaction is. Okay, there is one part that said, "Would you be willing to live next to a haunted house?" 43% said yes, 31% said no, and 26% said maybe. So it's kind of really split.
Wait, what was the numbers?
43% said they would live next to a haunted house.
Okay.
31% said no, they wouldn't live next to a haunted house, and 26% said maybe.
I was just trying to do the math to make sure I know what it counts.
You would live next to it because you would want to get that listed.
They'd live in it. Just so we can sell it.
It depends on what the house was. It's got to be infamous. It has to have some kind of attention to it. If it's just one of these run-of-the-mill haunted houses that nobody know about, I don't want it. I want the ones that make an impact. I want the ones that you see in the movies where bees are going all over the windows and stuff like that. That's the one I want.
When you're running out of the house, hair on fire.
That's the one I want. I want the one from Poltergeist.
Didn't they film the Munsters on Long Island? That house for the Munsters?
Did they? I'm not even sure about
check.
that. That's actually.
I think it was on the North Shore somewhere. The front of the Munsters was filmed on Long Island, I heard.
Well, I know some people that look like the Munsters on the North Shore, so maybe it happened.
1313 Mockingbird Lane.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not
wow,
sure
you guys have a better memory than me. It's funny. I was actually watching an episode of the Munsters the other day with my kids.
So happened.
Because I don't know if you guys saw that they made that remake of the Addams Family.
Yes, I saw that.
They went to the movies, so my wife took the kids over to see it. They started telling me about it, doing the whole snapping thing, the whole thing. I'm like, you didn't know about this show? They're like, no, it's great. I'm like, oh, So we started looking at old Addams Family stuff. So I showed him the Munsters. Like, what is this? I'm like, this was even better than that Addams Family. It was like knockout comedy, like you can't even imagine.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, while I was looking up that show, while they were telling me about it, Addams Family lasted only one season.
Really?
Blows my mind. It in 1967 to 68, that was the season it lasted. So it blows my mind that it had that much of an impact and lasted this many years, just for that one season. Goes to show you some of these characters are you live forever.
Yeah.
You know, but me personally, I don't know. You know what? I don't know if I would want. All joking aside, I don't know if I would want to live next to a haunted house.
I know I wouldn't probably want to live next. Well, if they're just hanging out there, you know, the ghosts and everything, as long as they don't come into my house.
What if they do your
I'm
dishes?
good. So do I want to live in a haunted house? Abso-freaking-lutely not.
What about across from a cemetery? You seen those real estate signs, quiet neighbors?
Quiet
Oh yeah,
neighbors.
that's my number one go-to. I've sold plenty of houses right next to there, so across the street from the cemeteries in their backyards.
You had the.
I got
Yeah,
plenty of
that
them.
one that you looked out the back and the cemetery.
I
there.
had plenty of
remember
them.
that one. Yeah.
Plenty of them. Don't worry about
And
it.
again, you know, quiet neighbors.
Quiet neighbors.
Quiet neighbors.
Quiet as a ghost. You know?
That is the realtor go-to. Oh yeah, it's a cemetery, but they're very quiet. Except one night.
Well, you think of it like this. So, you know, it's colorful. There's always flowers there. You know,
Yeah.
you know, it's well maintained.
Well, perpetual care.
I'll tell you something. The cemeteries the grounds are much better maintained than some of our neighbors' backyards.
Oh, definitely.
So, I don't know, that cemeteries kind of don't give me any kind of like, they don't bug me as much, especially here on the island. You get all these little pocket cemeteries everywhere anyway. It's not a big deal. Somebody's buried somewhere everywhere. You know, I guarantee you under every single one of these buildings that are built over here, somewhere further down, there's got to be some bones or something that's buried.
Well, you know what happened in Poltergeist? You know, they moved the headstones, but they left the bodies there.
Well,
You know what happened there? That wasn't a good. That would be bad listing.
Yeah.
That whole neighborhood would be a bad listing.
You know, that tree. I mean, that was,
Yeah.
When I was in high school, there was that cemetery on Mount Misery Road in Huntington that everyone used to talk about. If you went in there, you're supposed to feel chills on your body. I never did it, but that was going
the
around.
chills come all from your mind. That's basically what it comes down to. You know, nobody likes to walk into a cemetery. That's never really the most optimal thing to do. But you know what? It doesn't bother me as much as other stuff. You know, I'd rather live next to the cemetery or have a cemetery in my backyard or across from me, rather than have like somebody
in the next yard, not in your backyard.
well, yeah, whatever, you know. But rather than have like a neighbor next to me that has like 3 junk cars on his lawn and shingles are falling off of their house and that kind of thing. Like there's give and take, you know. So
you have a percentage there.
so I'm the cemetery part. I'm kind of neutral on. The idea that there's a haunted house would bother me a little bit, just for my resale value on my house, unless I was selling that haunted house. So I don't know. I'm not. That one I might be leaning towards not buying that house. And what was the other option that you said?
Well, that's would you be willing to live next to? One of them is, you know, if you inherited a haunted house, what would you do with it?
Give it to Nick.
Would
to
you sell it? Would you renovate it? Would you move in? Would you tear it down? So 51% people said they would sell it. 24, so they don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm selling it. I'm getting rid of it. 24% said they would renovate it. 20% said they would move in, and 6% said they would tear it down. So, I don't think I would want to live in it.
Nah.
Nah.
No desire.
It's funny.
Make a great rental house, though. You got bad
true.
tenants.
Good turnover.
Come here.
No, people would stay there.
Good
Make it like
turnover,
a
and,
theme
they
house.
would have to, if they signed the lease, they would have to pay the lease, and then you can rent it again. But you know, is it a thing that you have to disclose? You don't have to disclose it.
Well, how do you disclose a poltergeist or a ghost?
Yeah, but people like that.
There's ghosts in here.
Some people may pay a premium to stay there.
Well, people do ask, and has anybody died in the house, or any, and according to the realtor laws, whatever, you don't have to disclose that, right?
Well, it's hard to disclose it if you don't know it. If you don't know it, yeah. And the other thing is, if you're inheriting it, you're not looking at it from the point of view from a realtor, as you're looking at it from the point of view as a homeowner or a landlord.
Right.
So, personally, I try to align myself with those ghosts and keep my tenants in line and not have any issues with them as far as non-payments and stuff like that, if I could pull that off. But, I mean, that's a weird thing, like to inherit a house that's haunted.
In the place that I live now, I have to admit, and I don't tell too many people this, but sometimes I see shadows, like I'll see a shadow go across the road.
I thought I saw someone follow you in before.
No, hey.
Yeah, but you live closer to this.
I got a reputation as good realtor. They want to sign up with me, but that I see a shadow, or I think I see a shadow, and sometimes I'll hear something like in the next room, and there's nobody there, so I'll be like, is my partner there? I go in there, nobody there, but I really heard something. So
yeah, but you've been used to suburban life for a long time, and now you're living closer to the city, and there's a lot more
think of
shadows and a lot more interaction coming
sounds,
from.
Yeah.
Think of how many people have been in and out of that unit. So who knows? It's pre-war building, so there's a lot of stories in there, right?
Maybe you're right. Trevor, you afraid of ghosts? No. Would it bother you if you had ghosts in your house?
As long I'd be fine with it, probably, as long as they don't eat. As long as it doesn't cost me money, I don't have to feed them. Ghosts don't eat, right? Because it goes right through them.
I have no idea.
Right.
It's just a weird thing. It's a weird thing. I never even thought of that. Like, if you would inherit a house like that, I guess if somebody approached me and said, "What should I do with it?" I'd say, "Sell it." I guess.
Well, if it was known to be a haunted house and you inherited it and the person died in it, that would even make it like a double layer.
You see, that part of it would bother me more. If the person I know personally died in there, then I would have my own memories and my own connection with that person that passed away. So I think I would probably want to separate myself not to have those memories, rather than if I picked somebody that I have no personal contact with and that kind of thing.
From my experience, I think, when a buyer has commented or specifically asked, has somebody died in this house or something like that, especially if they were, was an older couple, was in a state or something like that, and they specifically ask, did somebody die in this house? And they probably do that because they don't want it, I would assume.
I didn't ask when I bought my house.
Is that a question you would ask?
It doesn't, come right to my mind, but
it's not a question I would ask. It really doesn't.
If the house was empty for some reason and it wasn't renovated.
But I will tell you a story about something like that from a Long Island perspective. This actually happened to a realtor in Long Island. So this individual, I'm not going to mention names, I'm not going to regions, because this is personally confidential. It was traumatic to them. They were selling the home, went through the whole process, sold the house, did the open houses, shown walkthroughs, etc., whatever the case is. Everything's done, closed on the house. A couple months later, or maybe it was a couple weeks later, the buyer calls up the agent and says, "You have to come here." What happened? I can't even talk right now. You got to come here. So what happens? They take him. They find a body in the attic.
Well, then what's the moral of that story?
Your
Get a
inspector.
better inspector.
Exactly.
There you go.
There you go. See, you pay for what you get. So if it was my buyer, that would be the inspectors I use. But I see bad inspectors,
But could you?
and they are a horror. So that's a real estate horror.
There's a show on TV my wife watches called Buried in the Backyard, and it's all about people that are living in their house and they find bodies when they're doing work and stuff. There was one on Long Island, and actually a couple episodes on Long Island, where they literally have found bodies in people's houses.
I'm telling you, that's everywhere. It's not uncommon. It's not something that we should get creeped up about. It's just history.
It was just there, or
One of them was in a
was it under
55-gallon drum.
was it under insulation or something, or in a box?
It was
just sitting.
It
Hanging
was
out.
just like somebody went there and expired years and years and years ago. I mean, there was bones. It wasn't like a fresh body or something like that. But yeah.
Well, now see.
Now, could you imagine your feeling
I'd
of
be
doing
calling up that inspector in 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, but forget about that. Let's say you even got caught at the inspection. You just went through this whole process of selling this house.
Yes, your house now.
No, as a realtor, you're walking in and out of this house openly, whatever the case is. Meanwhile, there's a body in the attic the whole time. It's kind of that's actually a little creepier to me than like the whole idea of like apparitions.
It would be a little more creepy to me if it was a freshly dead body.
That's just morbid.
Well, I've been to open house where customers went in. The one in Freeport, the guy was up in the attic. Can you imagine he found something? These customers will go everywhere.
Yeah.
I remember he pulled down the stairs, went up into the attic.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
Well, if he had a problem, you close the attic behind him and keep him there.
I'm shocked. Even it depends what kind of house it was, but did they put storage in there? Did they never go in there? How long were they in the house before they discovered it?
The agents you're talking about?
No, the new owner.
I think it was a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it was a couple
Maybe it was
weeks.
the movers.
And the shakers.
But you know what? Some of these crawl spaces in attics, they're not like openly, like, I'm sure like people run through them, inspectors run through them, but they're not going to go and like sit there with flashlights looking at every single angle of it. Although if a good one would.
A good one would.
But, things could be missed. There's issues.
Well, especially if it's decomposed and there's bones and stuff like that, There's no,
I mean, you hear stories about people finding things in basements or behind walls. How many times have you heard a story where somebody opens up a wall and they find something like that?
Yeah.
Usually it's pets. You find pet remains from stuff like that, which is kind of creepy too. But but that you get a lot of that.
Right.
I know
that's why we recommend new construction.
Nobody's ever expired in there.
Well, unless it was the builder.
Yeah.
But
Well,
fell in the cement.
Happened to somebody else I know that's a real estate agent. They actually walked into a house that they were selling, and the guy committed suicide, and they found him in the garage. He did one of those things where shut the garage door on, keep his car on, died from the carbon monoxide.
Carbon monoxide, yeah.
Crazy stuff. It's all joking aside, you see a lot of crazy stuff happening in this world.
Yep.
And the guy that I know, but I won't say the names right now, but I'll tell you after the show. But that's the kind of stuff you're dealing with. So what else we got on that?
All right, what else we got on this Realtor.com survey? So let's see another one. Okay, we kind of just touched on this a little bit, but one is what spooky happenings would make you want to move out? So what's the degree of haunted that would actually make you, want to move out? So levitating objects or items moving, strange noises, feeling of being touched, or ghost sightings. Which one would make you? Well, the feeling of being touched, nobody there. That's depends what night it is, but like people touching me anyway. So ghosts, no, I don't think that's a good one.
I'll tell you though, the one thing that's missing from that list that would scare me more than anything else is decreasing values of all my surrounding houses. That would freak me out. I'd be out of that house before you could blink.
Well, here's a question that's not on the survey. So does a haunted house in your neighborhood or on your street, does that increase your value of your house, or would that decrease the value of your house? Now, if it's an Amityville horror house where people,
it's an attraction.
Where right. Then does that decrease because of the traffic?
To some people,
I don't want to be near an attraction.
Here's the funny thing about these type of houses, because all joking aside, I did have a situation where I sold a house that did have a reputation in a neighborhood that was supposedly haunted, but it wasn't. Like, I never saw any of that stuff. And here's the thing. To some people, it's, I'm not coming near this thing. I don't care. So you do take a small segment of the market away from that. Then you have the people that are super intrigued with it. Small section, a very small sector of people.
Far less than the people.
All these like real life Ghostbusters, and
they're out there.
They're out there, and they live for this stuff. And then you have the people that are just oblivious to it, like, I don't believe in no ghosts, that kind of thing. So, it's just one of those things. And the place that I'm talking about, it wasn't even they didn't even have a stigma of being haunted. It was just that it was known throughout the neighborhood that the person that lived in the house had committed suicide in a really bad way, and people kind of didn't want to have that, like, bad juju or in the house when they purchased it. So, it's one of those things. Like, I had people, is this the house that somebody, like, I'm not even going to say the profession the guy was in, but is this the house? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it makes the news. You can't hide it.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So, and that leads you to the next part of the survey. So if you had a house that was haunted, 23% of people claim that they have lived in a haunted home. 58% said they didn't know the home was haunted before moving in. Now, I don't know the percentages who moved right out. I guess that would go to, would you live in a haunted house? 54% said no, absolutely not. 21% said maybe. 21% said yes. I would be a no.
For me, there's plenty that aren't haunted. So unless you're into that, I would say no.
Is it better than all the other houses on the market?
Unless this ghost was paying rent, I say no.
Am I getting a serious reduction on the price?
Is it stressful? Is it a stressful ghost? Is it like, Ghost of Mrs. Muir, where the ghost would, it depends. That's kind of ghost. There's all kinds of ghosts.
You could sell it with a instead of like a seller's concession, with a free Ghostbuster coupon.
Was it a nasty ghost? Was it a good ghost?
Was it Casper?
Revenging? Was it Molly, you're in danger, girl? Was it that kind of ghost? So it depends.
I don't know. Money talks for me when it comes to that stuff.
Then you wouldn't have it, because I don't think the ghost would be paying any kind of rent or commission. They tend to be cheap.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
I've never gone to closing with a ghost
that you know of.
That's true. I mean, one could be sitting here right now.
Hey, Trevor could be an apparition.
The ghost of radio shows past.
He's pretty silent sitting over there. So I don't know. It's just one of those weird things. It really is. Like, it's really funny. And you know what another trend I'm finding every Halloween is happening more and more and more? Halloween was never one of these holidays that people really went over the top. I mean, you always had certain people that went over the top, but never really went over the top decorating like it's Christmas or something like that.
Yeah.
You're seeing this happening more and more of a trend.
And earlier.
Yeah.
Big blow up things.
And you're seeing entire yards looking like graveyards. And
right. Well, it's funny that you should mention that, because if you could go on my Instagram or Facebook in a couple of days, as I'm walking around the neighborhood, and I do walk around the neighborhood, trying to get a little exercise, and I've been actually taking pictures of the houses that are decorated, and I don't remember ever living in an area like that where so many houses were decorated.
This has been a trend that's been building up over the past
Big
few
time.
years.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like the Costco Home Depot effect where you go in there and you see a whole section
In
of
July they started.
yeah, and you see like an entire section worth of Halloween
Yeah.
stuff. I don't know if that's what it is. It's just a marketing thing that is kind of putting it in people's heads. Oh, this is the thing we do now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a good thing, a bad thing. I generally don't really like it when people like go over the top with that kind of decoration. Maybe that's a caller. Maybe it's
The
not.
ghost.
Or maybe it's a ghost. But what
I
was thinking to myself is, I don't know if it's something that adds value in any way or detracts value in any way of a home sale at that time of the year.
I don't mind it.
I don't mind it as long as it's done moderate.
Right.
When you see the over-the-top stuff, I think it's a little too much.
Well, it's different. It's
I
new.
think the type of buyer that is looking in the area, it would depend on. If it's a family, if you're moving in with kids and stuff like that, I think it's a positive. The house neighborhoods, people decorate and it's lively and inviting because people do their houses up and stuff like that. The kids like it, et cetera, et cetera. But if it's more adults in there, I think it's probably, if it's not tasteful, probably the Halloween tends to be a little less tasteful than a Christmas or a holiday display. But if it's more adults, no children, stuff like that, I think it could detract.
It wouldn't bother me. I don't mind.
It's one of those things. And what can it affect people that are really religious? Think about it. If they see like a devil on the lawn, people put that stuff on there, or like demons, like skeletons and stuff like that. I get a kick out of all this. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
You tell me let's go to a haunted mansion or like go to one of these mazes or whatever the case is. I live for that stuff. I love it, but I don't know how well that you could translate. I've always told sellers this time of the year, especially the ones that, because I had homeowners that don't know the word moderation in any way. Everything that they do is either all in or not at all.
Right.
So you would see them going over the top on Halloween, over the top in Christmas, over the top in Easter, big bunnies and all that stuff. But you know what? I'm into that. If I lived in the house and I had no intention of selling it and marketing it to the mass public. But if you're trying to attract a certain type of audience and you're kind of like isolating, you're getting rid of people down the line because of that reason, not a good idea.
Right.
So, moderation, I guess, is always the best bet. And, try not to get too, just like we always tell people when you have a lot of stuff that's in the house that's very personal, try not to make it too personal in the place.
Well, if you're actually selling the house,
and you're selling it,
if you're selling a house and you're decorating it, there is something to be said for, some tasteful holiday decoration, in there, because it gives it a more homey feeling. People maybe can visualize themselves,
right.
Well, this is how we would spend our holiday.
Right.
This is what we would do here. Anything that's cluttered, if you're selling your house and you still insist on decorating, you do too much, it takes away from the house. What do you do? I'm not selling decorations.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm selling a house. So if I can't see the front yard, if I can't see your landscaping, that's a problem. If it's making the rooms look smaller, that's a problem. But it's a whole different story if you're living in the house and doing it.
That's my point.
And if you're selling it and doing it.
That's my point. When you're putting it out there and you're already on the market, you kind of don't want to.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you the most
people
extreme.
pick up on anything, you know.
Yeah.
And what I always say, if to sellers, if I see it, they see it. Okay, and so if my eyes went towards a certain thing, and I feel that well, if you're gonna do something, fix that, because you know what? Every time I walk in the room, I see it. Fix it. If every time I walk into your room, and you're selling your house now, and I see that headless thing with the blood hanging up,
Yeah.
Hey, it's cute, it's funny, but again, I'm not seeing the room.
You're not seeing the room, or if a family comes in there with a little kid, and the kid gets scared.
Mm-hmm.
Not always a great. I'll tell you an extreme thing. Like I told you, I have people that have gone all out. I've had somebody go absolutely one time only. Valentine's Day, all red lights all over the place.
Wow.
Changed out the bulb that's inside the entrance to red and all this stuff. And it's like it's Valentine's Day, hearts and red.
Right.
I'm like, this place looks like a bordello. Like you look like you should be in Amsterdam on the red light district
Right.
instead of this is not good.
Mm-hmm.
You're attracting a different type of buyer
Well,
or seller.
I don't know what kind of buyer you're attracting by that point, but you're definitely going to attraction. When I went there, and this was actually in Queens, I think Jackson Heights. This was where we did it. I was horrified because he didn't warn me he's doing this, and I had a showing the following. Like I was there one day, like normal house, and I'm going into the next day, and it's nighttime. It's like 7-8 o'clock at night, and I'm like, what the hell's that red light coming from? Finally get to the house. I'm like, my house is the red light. And I'm sorry. Like people why is it like? I'm like. He's a fun guy. Like, what am I gonna say?
Very loving.
It's weird. It's weird.
There's a red light there to detract you from the body that is in the basement. Diversion.
Yeah, but I've noticed though
Look here, not there.
That's been a trend though. I've been seeing more and more Halloween stuff
Over the top.
happening, like over the past.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say 4 or 5 years, and it just might be the Costco, Home Depot, BJ's.
I feel it too, because I walked into a Home Depot the other day, and right when you walked in, there was the Halloween stuff, but right next to it, was 3 weeks before Halloween, and right next to the Halloween stuff was the Christmas stuff, and the Christmas stuff, and the Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
And, you're bombarded by it. And people, they like to shake it up a little bit. I don't mind, decorating for a holiday.
I don't mind it either. I actually go to town with it. I love it actually. Like one of my favorite things to do is actually decorate for Christmas, for Halloween, for all the holidays. I hate taking the stuff down.
Yeah.
Like to call me crazy. Like I love actually putting it up. But taking it down is such a beast.
Especially if
so
you get a
annoying.
snowstorm.
That's a horror. The people that
frozen.
leave their icicles up until like May.
That's
a horror.
Or how about the people that leave
that's
them
a
up and actually still light them up?
That's
How's
a
that?
real estate horror.
Yeah, unplug your timers.
Can you please take down your Christmas lights, please?
It's really never it's always the icicles.
Yeah.
It's always those icicles.
Oh,
I don't know why.
I've had people leave wreaths up. I've had people leave all around the columns and around the porticos and the whole nine. It's just
You leave it up long enough, it's going to be the holiday.
it always comes back again. So, but I always get a kick out of the people that not only leave it on, the people that actually go with the extra effort of turning it on at night.
Right.
I'm like,
In February.
February. I'm talking about like March, May.
That would not only be a Halloween horror, that would be a horror every time that you received your electric bill.
Right.
Hey, people get a kick out of it. So, are we done with that list on Realtor.com?
I think that's that's about it.
They always come out with these different polls on there, and I guess people get a kick out of them. But like, I'd love to like see like a real like poll, like the horror of having somebody to reduce your commission or something like that, like stuff like that. They never get into that stuff.
I don't know if this. I don't know if they, this was for people. This wasn't for realtors. If it was realtors, it would be a whole different question set. But that's not here or there, right?
No.
Commissions, clients, sellers, buyers, real estate attorneys. There you go.
I'll tell you about some horrible.
And we do love our real estate attorneys.
Yes.
Don't get me started. I went on a rant the other day, and I'm not going to go down that road again.
But every deal. That's what's the fun part about real estate is even if you have a horror, every sale, every buyer, every seller, everyone's different. So you never know, what their thing is or how they're haunted or, they may be mentally haunted. They may be physically haunted. Everything's different. There's never one that's exactly the same.
Have you had any
like a snowflake
weird superstition stuff when clients come into your open houses and they
All
want
the
to know
time.
certain crazy things?
All the time. Oh my God. I mean, you do have the ones that like to put the statue in the back of the house upside down because the house won't sell. The saint that they put in the back of the backyards.
Yeah.
What's the saint's name? They take a little statue of a saint and they flip it over and bury it in the backyard because that's the way it's going to sell. It's not the house that is overpriced. It's not the fact that it has a funky layout. It's not the fact that it is a horrible location.
It's not the fact that it's haunted. Keeping it a theme.
We got to have that little statue. The superstitions. You have a lot of superstitions that come in. I don't know if it's superstitions or more of customs and
like certain number houses and things like that, right?
You do not sell a number 4 house to a Chinese family. That's a bad thing.
No, it's a luck thing. It's a bad. That's a cultural.
Yeah,
that's
I've learned that a long time ago. I didn't even knew that in the past because the 4 is in their culture, the number of death.
I did have a buyer for one of my listings that actually decided to make an offer on the house because of a certain piece of artwork that the seller, and this was also the same house where a person passed away, not in the house, but they had certain artwork or a statue that was a sign for this person. Like I saw that. This is the house. Now, that's a personal thing. So I think it goes back to my original topic, with souls and this and that. A buyer has to feel the home. If it doesn't feel like a home, for whatever reason, whether it's a spirit, whether it's a statue, whether
dead body in the attic.
There's the body in the attic, maybe they're lonely. Maybe they want an extra body.
Maybe that might be the case, but
You can get a senior discount on your taxes, maybe.
13s are always not welcome.
I don't have a number 4 on my block now that I'm thinking of it.
I just sold a house that was converted from a number 4 to number 2 just for that reason. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. 13s, people are not necessarily happy with.
666.
Those are usually not good numbers.
We'll call off for a number 2.
Funny thing, I've sold a house on Elm Street, which I got.
Is it a nightmare?
Well, I don't know if it turned into a nightmare for them, but I will tell you, when I was selling it, I had multiple people kind of like freaked out about it, and I have had other people that came in. This is how nuts people are. They'll come in knowing the address of the house that was in the movie and saying, "Is this like?" They're trying to figure out, and like it was a movie,
right?
It was a fictional street. It was not a real house. People just, anytime there's like a street name that's somehow associated with something that's really like popular, you'll always get that. I'm sure if there was a Jump Street, I don't think there's any
Right.
Jump Street, right? Is there?
Not that I know in my
I'm
town.
sure if there was a Jump Street and it was 21 Jump Street
That'd be cool.
and that was the house selling, you'd have people coming just for the hell of it.
Well, I've been driving around. You see cool street names, and you're like, I'd love to live in this block. Just to tell you put your return address.
No, I did. There's actually a street called Nick Court, and I'm like, if this was in a better location, I'd love to have a house here.
That's a real estate horror. All right.
But we could go on for hours talk about all kinds of stories like that. Unfortunately, the show is only an hour long, and I do want to take the opportunity before we sign off to talk a little bit about what you do, Mike. How long have you been? How long have you been in this business?
19 years, believe it or not.
19 years.
19 years helping people.
And
The American dream, home ownership.
And you still have your hair,
I still have hair. Yep.
and you still have a smile. That's
Still
amazing.
smile. Yeah, I love what I do.
Because I'll tell you something, I see a lot of people, especially in the mortgage business, that lost their smile about 10 years ago. You want to say?
Right.
You were able to survive that
I
and actually
survived
get
it,
through it.
Yeah.
And he's still enthusiastic.
Now, that's a horror story. 2008 to 2012
Yeah.
was ongoing real estate horror story.
No, it's just
For 4 years.
I was I was just in high school then. How do you remember that?
Yeah, that was an interesting time because I was getting more calls for people wanting to know how to keep their houses and
How to
wanting buy
modify,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of business I was doing during that time of the year, during that time, was short sales.
Mhm.
I just got my feet wet with the REO sector, so I finally started working with the asset managers and with their various different banks and with the REO departments. And the truth be said, if you wanted to survive during that time and you really wanted to thrive, you had to learn how to do that business. Because if you didn't, they even came to me to try to help them modify things. I'm like, I'm limited to how much I could do. And there was a lot of mortgage guys that I got into that business as far as a separate business. All they did was modifications.
Yeah.
It was a big business. Unfortunately,
Attorneys too.
yeah.
Like malpractice attorneys opening up modification law firms and stuff. Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people weren't doing the right thing for the clients.
A lot of people aren't.
And I'm sure you're still dealing with the after effects of that. I'm sure you're still dealing with loans that were given out during that time or prior to that time that you're still dealing with refinancing and modifying.
Well, what's interesting is a lot of people that are calling to refinance, they're letting me know that I modified this, 5 years ago, so that can impact everything. And once you're back on your feet, you can do a regular refinance, but it does impact you in the short term.
And all those people that had had the foreclosures that they had to deal with or did the short sales at that time, even though the short sale doesn't affect you the same way as a foreclosure, I'm sure it took them quite some time to get back on the ground. I think like a lot of the people that got out of that during that time are now coming to you looking to make that next purchase. They're finally getting themselves above water. And
it's interesting. I have a big book of past clients because I've been doing this a long time, and I've always worked for banks that were kind of conservative and didn't get into those crazy loans where you can go underwater. So I didn't have personally a lot of clients that were in that situation. But as people call me over the years, there's a lot of people that needed that help and were able to keep their homes, which is great too. A lot of people lost them though. It took years for these banks to catch up.
There's still a ton of shadow inventory. That I will say, because of the amount of volume I see that's still being held back, if ever there was a situation where they just decided to flood the market with that stuff, we'd have 2008 times 10, because there's just so much stuff.
There's definitely an uptick in foreclosures.
Yeah, I have a vacant house on my block going on 4 years.
Compared to what it was.
But I'm saying the trend with the last, let's say, 3 years or 4 years, I don't remember, in those years seeing as many foreclosure short sales, bank-owned properties as I do now.
Yeah,
the reason why that's happening is because the valuations are finally to the point where they could somehow recoup all or most of their
That makes
debt.
sense. I didn't think of that. Yeah.
And that's why they hold back this inventory. One, they don't want to flood the market because that's going to destroy the market and devalue it. Two, this market's terrible. We're not going to recoup what we're getting. We might as well have a write-off and deal with it, or hold on to this until the time is right. And they send me evaluation reports, and they send me BPO requests all the time, and periodically on the same houses. I've been doing this for at least 10 years as far as we're working with these banks. And you see on the same properties, the same homes, they're doing periodic type of checkups. They want to see, what is it worth now? What is it worth now? What is it? And so on and so on.
Yeah.
But, now I'm going to give you your opportunity to give your own pitch, not tell everybody about yourself, how they contact you, how to get to spend some time and listen to you on the phone, and maybe get a loan from you.
Yeah, I love it. Listen, so Mike Natter, I work with Movement Mortgage. My office is in Huntington. I am licensed in New York, New Jersey, and Florida. However, we're located in, I think, all 50 states. So anywhere in the country, I can get you into the right hands. And I think the reason I survived so long in this business is because I just have the passion to help people. And I'm not just looking for one deal. I want a customer for life. And that's kind of the attitude I have. And we kind of make a little fun. I have my little character, Magic Mortgage Mike. You can look him up online. And we just have fun doing the process. And that's really what it's all about. So you can look me up online. My direct number is 516-652-3073. And because I work for a bank, we have some legal stuff to do here. So I just got to let you know that my NMLS number is 413831, and Movement Mortgage supports equal housing opportunity, and their MLS number is 39179.
Will I tell you your phone number again one time?
516-652-3073.
All right, that's it. We're not talking about you anymore.
Hashtag magic.
Oh, throw out the paper. Magic Mortgage Mike.
Magic Mortgage Mike. Watch his videos; they're great.
They are. Actually, I saw a couple of them yesterday prior to this, and I'll say, you know what? You take a different spin.
You have to. Got to be different.
You're not the stuffy banker type that just sits there, and you enjoy. You can tell you enjoy the business.
Yep.
That's partially why you have your hair and it's not gray. And
although I think I'm losing some in the back.
You still got your hair.
So they just walk forward.
But it's more one of those things that both the mortgage business and whether you're in the real estate business and a lot of our similar type of businesses, if you're not into it and if you're not a little bit of masochist on our end, I don't know if it is on the mortgage end as much. But you don't enjoy the pain as much. Right. You're not going to last.
It's a challenge, and
you're going to want it.
Love overcoming challenges.
You're really going to want it. So,
and you need a good team too.
No, that's a definite. It's very close to impossible to be able to run your business as a solo act. It's very tough unless you do very small business.
Yeah.
Mark, you want to say anything about yourself?
Mark Handler, Realtor, Coldwell banker. MarkHandlerHomes.com. Find me on YouTube. Find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
You want to give everybody your cell phone number so they can call you and harass you?
My business number is 516-864-8153. I'm here all week, folks.
I could maybe I'll post it online after.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
It's posted in a lot of places.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Stay safe. I don't think people throw eggs out as much as they used to, but
just that realtor.
Yeah, just that guy down in South Carolina. So we're all set. He's kicking me out. All right. Have a happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
See you again next week.
Cool.
Oh my goodness.